Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel, Diana and the Book Hunt. So, COVID has been kicking my ass in the past week, so I haven't been able to record or actually almost also not really read at all because I don't know if other people who have had COVID in the past have had the same as me, but I kind of lost concentration a lot in the past week. When I tried to read books, I just couldn't get into them. I lost the train of thought very easily, especially if it was an audiobook. And I also had splitting headaches, so whenever I tried to read, it just became too much very quickly. So I kind of stayed away from books for quite a bit of the time last week until I kind of started to feel like I was getting back to myself again. So I've been reading a bit more the past couple of days, but really at the beginning I almost didn't read at all. So while October is one of the longer months and typically one of the months where I get to read a lot, this year it kind of wasn't the same as I'd hoped. But yeah, it is what it is. So I'm not going to be too hard on myself on that. And I'm just going to try and make up for it next month. I finished in total 14 books. And I already did a mid-month wrap up a couple of days ago where I showed you the first 7 books that I read. So now I'm just going to focus on the last 7 books that I picked up in October, and I'll show you which books I really loved and some of them that I didn't love as much. So yeah, this will be my October wrap up, and hopefully now that we've had COVID in the past, I hope that I can focus more on reading more and showing you a lot amazing books in the future posts as well. So, yeah, without further ado, let me just go ahead and tell you which books I picked up in the later part of October. The first book that I finished is going to be no surprise to anyone who knows that I absolutely love Colleen Hoover, like anyone else within BookTube and the romance community. I picked up It Starts With Us, which is the follow-up novel to It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, and we're picking up where we left off in the last book with Atlas and Lily. Um, this book, I think it's kind of a hit or miss for everyone. There is no middle ground to it, I think, because everyone who has read the first book probably loves it. Most of the people love it, and some people maybe think that it wasn't necessary to have a second book out. And many people think that maybe it should have been wrapped up in a different way. I don't know what people were thinking, honestly. The thing is that when I picked it up, I tried to pick it up with as clean a slate as possible, so I didn't want to know what anyone thought about it. I didn't watch any other booktubers cover like vlogs and opinions on the book, so I could really make up an opinion of my own about the book. And I really love that I did that because now that I've read it, I haven't also watched anything yet, to be very honest, but I know that a couple of the booktubers that I follow were not very happy with it. A couple of them really were, but a couple of them weren't as well. But I actually loved it. Um, I think for It Ends With Us, I give it 4.5 stars, and this is not, I think it deserves 5 stars to be honest, but I give it 4.5 stars because it's a personal thing. I have a thing with abuse because I'm a bit triggered by it. So when it comes to stories which feature abuse, sometimes it gets a bit overwhelming for me. So I think that it's more of a personal thing why I gave it 4.5 stars. But for this book, I absolutely loved it. I love how it wrapped up, and I love that we got both Lily and Atlas's perspectives in the way that their story progressed, and it didn't feel rushed to me. So yeah, I don't want to spoil anything about the first book, so I'm not going to talk about the plot of the second book. The only thing that I can say is that uh, I just love Atlas as a character. He's such an amazing human being. And in this story, I also love that we have like a secondary plot where Atlas finds out that he has a family member he didn't know about that he gets to build a relationship with, which I absolutely loved. And we see how Lily is dealing with being a single mother and how she is struggling with seeing whether she can pull it off to get into a relationship with Atlas while she still has a very unresolved situation with her ex-husband. So yeah, I really love this book. For me, it was a definite hit. I think it left me feeling like the story wrapped up in an amazing way, and all the characters within the book, in both books, kind of got what they all deserved, got what they were hoping for. So I loved it. I know that people may find that there weren't too many conflicts within the book, or that it was a bit boring, or like it was like a very long extended epilogue of some kind. I get that it may have felt like that for some people, but for me, um, it was just an amazing book. So I gave it 5 stars, and it's definitely going to end up in my top reads of the year. Because we were approaching the end of the month and I was really in the mood to pick up more atmospheric reads, I picked up a couple of books that were really in theme with Halloween, with a bit of a more dark setting and some magical elements. So the first one that I picked up was a dark cartel um, book, which is called Vicious Union by Jocelyn Soto. And I think I mentioned that I want to pick this book up in my fall TBR video previously. This book, I was first drawn to it because of the beautiful cover. We have a woman with a painted face, which is kind of the type of Mexican face painting that happens on the Day of the Dead. So again, a Halloween type of setting. So I was like, okay, I really like this cover, especially for this time of month. And also the blurb, or kind of the synopsis, kind of made me feel intrigued about the book. The book is about Leo, who is the son of a famous kingpin, like the biggest cartel in Mexico. Um, and they have this deal that is going on in Las Vegas, and his father sends Leo out to this deal because the deal needs to be managed by his future brother-in-law, and his father kind of doesn't trust him yet, so Leo is going to be there to kind of oversee the whole deal and the business side of it. So he's going basically on business to Vegas, and that is where he encounters Serena, who is there on a personal trip. She's there with her best friend because she wants to get over a bad breakup that she had. The two of them kind of meet in a funny way, and um, yeah, basically they hit it off right away. They immediately feel attracted to each other. But both of them are like, yeah, we just want to make the best out of the situation, kind of a situation where they know that they're going to be there for a short amount of time. So they're just going to enjoy the company of each other and have some fun time for a couple of days. And then everyone will go to their respective lives knowing nothing of the other person. Um, but that is not how the situation turns out, because on the last day together, they get blackout drunk and they accidentally get married. This is where the story gets interesting, because obviously Serena doesn't know that Leo is in the cartel business, and then Leo kind of is in a predicament because he starts to really immediately kind of has feelings for her, is very overprotective of her, and he wants to be with her, but he knows that if he is with her, that he is endangering her because of the family that he is in. So he's a bit torn about what to do, whether he should ask to divorce her directly or whether he wants to try and make it work. So yeah, it was a very fast-paced, bit of a mafia style story, because everyone is after him and her for specific reasons which are tied to the cartel. But yeah, his family, half of them are against her, a couple of the people are with them, and it's just very dynamic and very fast paced. I liked it. I think I give it 3.5 stars because I want to see how the story will progress, because there's going to be a second book. And also, especially because in the second book, we'll see one of Leo's sisters stories with his best friend, which I'm very interested in to see how that's going to play out. So the next book that I picked up is by Amanda Milo. It's called Blindfold, and I want to thank Bree for recommending such amazing and very different types of books, because previously, like a year ago, I may never have picked up a book like this because it just wasn't on my radar. But now that I've listened to so many recommendations by Bree for alien romances and monster romances, I'm intrigued by every single one of them and I want to try them out. And this one was a definite hit for me. I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. Um, it's an alien romance. It's a fifth book within a series, but it can definitely be read as a standalone because I just picked up this book, the first one out of all 5 books, because it got me intrigued. Because, first of all, the cover, it has a German Shepherd on it, but I know that it's an alien romance, so I'm like, what is this about? And then I read the synopsis for the book and I found out that it involves a blind woman who gets kidnapped and sent to an alien planet, and that is where she is auctioned off as a gift bride to one of the aliens there. Um, and that's where the German Shepherd comes in because he's her support animal, or she is her support animal because it's a female dog. Um, and yeah, I absolutely love this book. There were so many things that worked for me. First of all, the alien Breslin, he is an absolute cinnamon roll hero. He is such a caring, understanding, and kind of very amazing um, type of character who, when he finds out that Sana is blind, he doesn't see it as an inconvenience. He sees it as a trait that anyone can or cannot have depending on how nature has created you. And he is like, okay, so she needs to live with this, so let me just work around it. And he gives her a lot of things to do on his ranch. He kind of helps her without helping her physically, so he really shows understanding towards the fact that it's not a defect, or it's not an inconvenience, but it's just a part of who you are. So you need to kind of live with it and find a way around it. Um, and I think that Sana is really very appreciative of this. And she's like, yeah, when I was on Earth, no one, um, like all the men I was meeting were trying to help me, but help me in a physical way, and kind of thinking that her disability is something that they need to compensate for her. And that is not what she wants. She wants to be able to do everything independently, and she just needs someone to um, figure out a way of coping with the situation. So that is what Breslin does with her, and he just does such an amazing job with her. And she is also such a type of character who wants to learn, who wants to do everything. She wants to ride a cart. She wants to be able to deal with the animals on the planet. She wants to be able to do all the chores that he gives her, and she's not afraid of anything. And there's just so many amazing situations within the book. Also, the Lost in Translation part is just it gives such a comic relief into the book that just makes you want to fly through it and find out how they get to understand each other and have a laugh about the things that go wrong when they misunderstand each other. So yeah, I absolutely love this book. It's a definite 5-star read, and I'm definitely going to be picking up more of the Amanda Milo books within this series, and maybe more alien romances in the future as well. I did pick up at the beginning of the year the first book of the Ice Planet Barbarians Alien series by Ruby Dixon, and I love that one. So I'm definitely going to be reading more of the alien romances in the future. So the next book that I picked up, I definitely wanted to pick up around Halloween time. I've wanted to pick it up for a year already, but I've been putting it off exactly for this moment in time because I knew what the book is about. And it just sounds like the most atmospheric type of read for Halloween time. The book is called Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas, and I love this book. I don't know how to express my love for it besides saying that it's an absolute gem of a book. and I think that it deserves all the praise that it's gotten and even more. The book centers around a Latinx character, also a trans boy. His name is Yadriel. Within his family, they're part of this community who the men are called brujos. They're able to summon ghosts, while the female population, so the women, they are brujas and they can actually heal. So, because he's born a woman, his family assumes that he should be a bruja, but he believes that he should be a brujo because he feels he's a man and he feels it inside of him that he will be able to summon ghosts. So what he does is, together with the help of his cousin Maritza, they set about performing a ceremony to summon a ghost, and he is successful because he brings up the ghost of Julian. Now, Julian, he basically doesn't know what happened to him. So Yadriel, Maritza, and Julian go on an adventure to find out why it is that Julian has passed away and what they can do just before the Dia de Muertos, which is the Day of the Dead on Halloween Day. Because on that day, basically, the dead come to visit the living, and after that, they need to pass over. So they have a very set deadline of what they need to find out and to do within a couple of days' time before Julian, kind of before his time runs out. This book is so wholesome, so amazing. The way that the characters interact with each other, the atmosphere of it, the way that all the Latinx culture and traditions are explained is so vivid. You're really transported into the setting of the book. Aiden Thomas does such an amazing job with this book. I absolutely loved it, and I hope that you have, if you haven't read it, that you're going to pick this book up because it definitely deserves to be read. Another book that I picked up this month that has a magical element to it, and I felt like it was a very good book to pick up around Halloween time, is called A Touch of Moonlight by Yaffa as Santos. This book is one which I liked it. I wouldn't say that I really loved it, but it's definitely a book worth picking up around this time of year because of the magical element to it, but because also it's also centered around this time of year. The book centers on Larimar, who is this girl who is managing a very famous cafe in New York City. The cafe is part of a chain, like of a brand cafe, and they're going to be opening up a new cafe in New Jersey. They've tasked her with overseeing the opening of the cafe, and I believe that she believes that if she does a good job with the opening, that she will be able to get a promotion out of the situation. So she's very excited about that. In the meantime, her best friend sets her up on a blind date. She goes on this blind date with this guy, Ray. It turns out that they really like each other, and they set about going on a second and third date. They get to know each other. And the thing with Ray is that he has recently opened up a bakery in New Jersey, and it turns out that he's opened up the bakery in the same street as the cafe is set to open, so they're going to be in direct competition with each other. But the interesting twist to the story is that Larry Moore kind of hides from Ray that she is part of this cafe. He assumes that she's in the flower business and she doesn't correct him, which sets about a motion of lies, which kind of lead to a lot of miscommunications and essentially lies from Larry Marr's side, which I didn't really like. And additionally, there is a touch of magical realism within the book because Larimar has a secret, which is a secret from her personal life that she doesn't share with Ray as well. This is where the magic comes in. I don't want to spoil too much about it, but it turns out she's kind of like a mythical creature as well, part of her Dominican heritage. So yeah, there's a lot of secrets in hiding within this book that kind of, I'm not a fan of it, like the hidden identity type of situation. So I didn't really love that aspect within the book. But otherwise, it was very atmospheric as well. And Ray is an amazing male character, main character within the book as well. He is ex-military, so he has some trauma from his background, but he's working through it in such a constructive way with the bakery and with following his dreams and his passion, that it kind of makes you feel a lot for him already from the start when they meet. So yeah, I was definitely enamored with the relationship aspect within the book, but I didn't like the hidden agenda within the story. So that's why I gave this book 3.5 stars. You can definitely pick this one up around this time of year to see whether you're going to enjoy it, because it definitely gives those vibes of exactly being in the fall season, and the magical sprinkles within the book make you think of Halloween as well. So yeah, definitely try this one out and see whether it's one that you're going to enjoy even more than I did. The last book that I picked up is a Christmas novella. I have to say that I wanted to pick this book up just solely because I took a look at the cover and I absolutely fell in love with it. It kind of reminds me of, I have a friend who does some art for different purposes, but the way that it's depicted, the illustrated cover reminds me so much of her work. So I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to pick this book up. And then when I read the first sentence of the synopsis, it said something like going to the Italian Alps for Christmas. And I was like, okay, Italian Alps, sign me up. I definitely want to read something that centers around an Italian holiday. So my expectations were something like, okay, some kind of a winter holiday type of romance with a hot Italian guy in the Italian Alps. Sounds good to me, but it was nothing like it. If you can imagine the hustle and bustle of Home Alone, so a big family with a lot of family friends all going to the Italian Alps on vacation around Christmas time, and then everything that can go not really wrong, but everything that can go astray basically goes astray. We have the main character who has been married for quite many years. They have 5 kids together. But it turns out that in the past she has cheated on her husband and he's taking her back. And then we have the person with whom she cheated is there, um, but he was presumably dead and he came back from the dead. And then he wants her to do him a huge favor. And she's like, yeah, but if my husband finds out, he's gonna kill us. Obviously, he finds out, so he wants to kill them. And then one of her kids turns out to be pregnant. And then one of her friends who is there has trouble with having kids, so they are looking into adoption and they get into a scheme with adopting a child there, and it's just too much. And to be very honest, it has nothing to do with a romance. The cover really highly suggests that it's a romance, but it isn't. And also, it's called, I don't know if I mentioned I didn't mention the title, I think, but you're going to see it in the illustration that I've put up of the cover. It's called The Off-Piste Christmas by Julia Houton. Um, it's also not really a Christmas themed book because it's just mentioned that they go on this post-Christmas trip, but for the rest, you're just reading about everything and anything but Christmas or romance. So I really didn't like this book. I gave it 2 stars because, okay, it's not a 1 star read. It wasn't atrocious, but there were so many incredulous things going on within the book, and there's just so much going on. Like I mentioned, it's like Home Alone, like 50 different characters, and it's a novella. I mean, it's not even 200 pages. So we're trying to focus on too many people at the same time while also trying to find out what the point is within the book. And it was just incredulous and very, very um, engaging in a bad way. if you know what I mean. So yeah, basically this book was my last book that I read this month, and I didn't like it, unfortunately, but fortunately I have some books planned that are going to hopefully kind of cleanse my palate once I finish them. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope to be back with a couple of more videos that I can post in the next couple of days, because I'm getting back off my hiatus after having spent a couple of days in bed with COVID. And please let me know if you've read any of the books that I mentioned, especially if you've read It Starts With Us. I want to know what you think about it, because I'm curious to see whether you think the same as I do. And also let me know what you thought of the other books, if you've read any of them. I hope to see you very soon in the next one. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and DM me on Instagram if you want to chat about books in general. Yeah, I hope to see you very soon in the next one. Have a wonderful, marvelous day. Happy reading. Take care, and bye bye.